You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. When LSU beat South Alabama, after that game, Brian Kelly made a comment in his postgame that we've played a lot here over the last 2 weeks. I'll remind you, but if you remember, at that point, after LSU played Southern Cal, and it was a game where, look, Sage Ryan played all but one snap, played all of his snaps in that game at boundary cornerback. They relied a lot on their veterans in that game, and you get it. It was a big opponent, marquee opponent. They were going with the veteran guys, whatever. The subsequent 4 games, LSU was rotating very liberally in the secondary. We saw Deshaun Spears, the freshman, start 3 games. It was very much an opportunity where they were rotating 6 guys at safety, just trying to see what they had. Brian Kelly, after that game against South Alabama, was very clear that was about to stop.
Tuesday we're going to put the guys on the field that we think can win SEC games for us. So what's that rotation look like? We've rolled a lot of guys in there. We get to, 2 weeks from today, there's not going to be a lot of rolling. There's going to be guys that are going to be playing.
Not going to be a lot of rolling. Going to be guys that are playing. He told you. The time of playing that many guys and shifting in and out, it's over. We got to decide who we can count on and go. Well, true to his word, they roll with their guys. LSU defensively played 87 snaps against Ole Miss. 87 defensive snaps. Zy Alexander, 87 snaps. Ashton Stamps, 87 snaps. Those 2 corners played every snap. Your safeties, how about Sage Ryan, 86 snaps. Jordan Gilbert, 85 snaps. And Major Burns at the Star, 84 snaps. Zy Alexander's in his 5th year of college. Ashton Stamps is a sophomore, but he's one of your guys that you're counting on now. Played a bunch a year ago and has played a lot this year. Sage Ryan's a senior. Jordan Gilbert's in his 4th year. Major Burns is in his 5th year. They collectively said, we're rolling with our young guys. Excuse me. They collectively said, we are rolling with our veterans. The guys that have played 40, 50 career games. The guys who know where they're supposed to be. Also, on Saturday, and in the postgame, Brian Kelly talked about Greg Penn and how he was the green dot, meaning the one with the communication in the helmet. I was told from someone on staff that was there that on Saturday, I'm not saying that hadn't been the case with Greg Penn, but on Saturday they made Sage Ryan the green dot. Sage Ryan was the one with the helmet comm lining everybody up. This was a game against that opponent in Ole Miss that gives you a lot of different looks. One of the most creative play callers in Lane Kiffin, where they couldn't afford busts. They had to be lined up properly. They had to trust what they were doing, and so they went with the dudes that have played in a ton of games, and it worked. Your highest graded, according to Pro Football Focus, your highest graded player defensively in the game was Zy Alexander, an 88.6 grade. His coverage grade was 89.0. His tackling grade was 80.9. His run defense grade was 72.2. For comparison, your highest graded defensive player was Zy Alexander at 88.6. Your next highest was Whit Weeks. Can we all agree he played pretty well? At 84.3. No other player was in the 80s defensively. Zy Alexander was awesome, and after the game, Brian Kelly talked about it.
Where we have been deficient is winning matchups down the field. And Zy Alexander was outstanding tonight. He won the matchups. He tackled in space. We're able to stay in a position where they weren't in a lot of second and shorts. And because of that, because we got them behind the chains, we were able to set coverages. We were able to do some things and change the look quite a bit. They had to use a couple of timeouts because they didn't like the looks that we changed to. And that had a lot to do with the corner in particular. And I thought Ashton did a pretty good job too, but Zy was outstanding outstanding, and he got the game ball tonight.
That's a guy who was your best cornerback a year ago. Tore his ACL against Army, as we all know, battled back. It took him a while throughout camp where he was running with the threes till he was getting back into shape. Didn't play that opener against Southern Cal. That's why we saw Sage Ryan start at corner. How different is that game if you have a healthy Zy Alexander? It's one of the reasons we always talk about. Like, teams are allowed to improve. You're allowed to get better. Yeah, getting Zy Alexander back healthy makes you a better football team. And when you look at the rest of those defensive snaps, P.J. Woodland, who's played a ton for you, is a true freshman. P.J. Woodland only played 12 snaps in this game. Javen Tomiano actually played 3 snaps at corner in this ballgame. So your role, and that would have been at slot corner. Obviously, your boundary corners, I told you, Zy Alexander played 87 snaps. Ashton Stamps played 87 snaps. Your boundary corners, you rolled with those 2 guys. They're your best guys. You keep rolling with them. And Corey Raymond deserves a ton of credit, y'all. A ton of credit. I know for a lot of people there was this discussion, this debate about if the game had passed Corey by, and I've sat here adamantly and told you how fundamentally absurd that is. You don't forget how to coach the position. You don't forget how to coach technique, how to coach guys to backpedal, to flip their hips, to play the ball. Like, you don't forget those things. It's the same reason. I've said this a million times. It's why Pete Jenkins at 82 years old came out of retirement middle of the season last year and made LSU's defensive line better. Corey Raymond is a better cornerbacks coach than Robert Steeples. And this isn't a knock on Robert Steeples. It's a knock on Brian Kelly for hiring Robert Steeples. This isn't revisionist history. We talked about it at the time. You gave Robert Steeples his first ever college coaching job. The cornerbacks coach at LSU, that was a big miss by Brian Kelly. But he corrected it by bringing Corey Raymond back, and you've seen it.
As it relates to the development of the defensive backs, that's why we hired Corey. Those are our expectations of Corey. He's got a lot of experience. He's in this business a long time, and he can impart that knowledge and that wisdom of coaching, cornerback position in particular, in a manner that it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen in time. And he's got a lot of young players there, and the veteran that he did have there is getting healthier and healthier. And we're seeing Zy really come, to the forefront of the cornerback position for us. And so he's done a really nice job in what we've asked him to do.
How about this? Among your starters, here's your highest graded players from PFF. Zy Alexander, number 1. Whit Weeks, number 2. SEC Defensive Player of the Week, by the way. Braden Swinson, number 3. SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. And then your 4th highest graded starter was Ashton Stamps. Can we please give Corey Raymond his flowers? He deserves them. And those 2 guys played really well. They got stops. They had pass breakups. Zy came up with an interception in the end zone. Darn near had one in overtime. Went right through his arms, man. That would have, for all intents and purposes, ended the game. LSU could have run it 3 times and kicked a chip shot field goal to win it. But in any event, it all worked out. And then there's the safety play as well, which from the onset of this season in fall camp, actually back to spring, when Sage Ryan was taking every rep at safety in the spring, this was our point. You get Zy Alexander back. Zy and Ashton Stamps allows you to move Sage Ryan back to safety, which is his natural position. And for as many darts as Sage Ryan has taken during his career, the point that I've consistently made is he was injured as a freshman. He played nickel cornerback for 2 years, and he played outside corner last year and to start this season. His natural position is safety. He is a safety. He is not a cover corner. And LSU, because of their personnel, had him playing cornerback and nickelback instead of his natural position. This is the first time in his career where he's playing his natural position. And lo and behold, he's playing well. So, yes, I think it is completely plausible to look into the second half of the season and go, you stay healthy with these guys, you're a better defense. And a lot of this is getting guys to adjust and to accept what the coaches are telling him and what they're having them do. If Brian Kelly on Monday pointed out specifically Major Burns, who, by the way, probably had his best game as an LSU Tiger.
This all comes down to trusting the teaching. So Major Burns, I'll give you, for example, Major's the easy pinata out there. Everybody likes to take a shot at Major Burns. Major's playing a position that requires a lot of run fits that, Harold Perkins had, right? He's really playing in a role where he has to run fit. And you have to trust that teaching. And it was, in my opinion, the first time where Major just trusted it. He just trusted, that's where I'm supposed to be, I'm going to go do it. And the success that he had was he just believes that what he's told to do is going to affect the outcome of the play. And he's a really good example of that and just trusting it. And he probably had his best game because of it.
You're not great. You're not elite. This defense isn't going to be an elite defense. Can this defense, it's the question we've asked the whole offseason, can the defense be good enough to complement an offense, which still should be a top 20 scoring offense in the country? If your offense can go score 32, 35 a game on average, which they're capable of doing, can your defense be good enough to complement your offense and win games? They're starting to answer to the affirmative. Take a big step to that, obviously, on Saturday against Ole Miss. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.